Hey, what up, YouTube? RicoKnows here. Sorry for being so distant today. I apologize. I'm a one-man show today. I'm trying to pull something up off screen here. Thanks for being here. You guys, I'm a little under the weather, so I'm doing this show off the cuff. I'm trying to set everything up as we're sitting here, but I want to thank you guys for trusting me for your college football information and knowledge. I try really hard to get the information right, be first and all those things. But there are times being first doesn't matter. Being accurate does. So when you see me do a show like this and I talk about running backs, in the transfer portal, this is the first episode. A lot of these moves were made weeks ago. A lot of these moves were made a month ago, if you will. But we still have to have the discussion about every single player in the transfer portal. And I kind of give my assessment. Remember, I'm never guessing where these players are going. I wait until they declare or commit, and then I assess that commitment or why they made that decision and how they fit in to the whole grand scheme of things. A lot of these transfers are relationship driven, 100%, as I do research. And remember, I know the lay of college football, the landscape of it, probably better than any individual person. And that's because I study 134 FBS teams. So you will find a fan page of one specific team, and they will take great pride in how much they know about their team. They haven't the slightest idea about teams outside of their conference or even within their conference. And they don't have the first clue about teams in the group of five or things of that nature. So thank you for watching the show. I intend to teach you about stuff, right? I'm not here to debate. I don't like debating. I'm here to educate, not debate. So when we're in that process, in that conversation, when you put it in a comment or you ask me a question, please ask the question with genuine sincerity of wanting to learn about something as opposed to arguing with me. The whole generation of wanting to argue about sports it's derived from ESPN and their shows where they put up two opposing sides and one guy talks about it and the other one doesn't, and I think he's the greatest. No, he's not. I think he's the great. They do this whole debate thing, and now everybody writes to me and says, "Oh, Rico, I'd love to debate you." And I just think to myself, like, I'll never put you on my show. My show is for me. It's for RicoKnows. It's for you guys to come in and learn about things. And the reason you guys tune in is not because of who I'm interviewing. It's because of me. And there's nothing wrong with that. I just have that mindset, and it's how we're going to be. So shout out to you guys. It is the end of the football season. We just finished up all the bowls. We do have the national championship tomorrow for the FCS. I'm going to talk about that briefly. And we do have some of the playoff games still going, and we'll talk about that. But for the most part, what a great season. Our second football season with the platform. Been around for about 2 or 3 years now when it comes to social media, and I'm just so encouraged by the growth. Yeah, we don't really push for growth on YouTube. We don't care what the users are at or how many views we get. It's not really a push. We use the platform simply for these live streams, nothing more, nothing less. We do push for growth on Patreon. We do push for growth on Twitter. We do push for growth on TikTok. But YouTube, it's not really a stressor for me. It's just another platform that I can use to put the videos on. It's not something I'm stressing. So thank you guys. For those of you who do watch the videos, I appreciate you, but it's not the end of the world for me. I just have a different business model, and I appreciate you guys who are rocking with me all season long and all year long. So let's talk about that. We're going to put it up here. So I'm in the lab. Obviously, I'm by myself. I'm RicoKnows. I'm going to be in your top left corner. We start every single episode the same. We talk about whatever's trending or whatever's recent in the transfer portal. So I'm going to go through some recent transfer portal additions and moves. Remember, this is the first running back episode, so I will be talking about 25 running backs in this episode. If you want to know which running back I'm going to talk about, they are in chronological order in the details of this video. So if you click on this video and look at the details, you will see when I talk about a running back. So if you're listening to me talk about a specific running back, you can jump around to different parts of the video when I get to the specific running back you're looking for. I suggest you listen to all of it and learn about all of them. I will be doing a Q&A with the crowd and with the people watching the show right now. If you have a question, go ahead and drop it in the chat early. I will get to it. Don't stress it. I always get to it. I do about 10 to 15, no diddy. I go over about 10 to 15 transfers, and then I take questions. Then we do the final 10 to 15, and then we wrap up the show with the final comments, questions, concerns. Typically, I'm doing this while I'm live streaming on TikTok. I'm not doing that this week. I'm very under the weather, and I don't feel like setting all that crap up. So we're just here. We're just talking. And hopefully people see this episode, okay? So first thing we'll talk about is what's happening in the transfer portal. And I'm going to touch on some of these guys, not all of them, because some of them will be covered in future episodes on the transfer portal. And you don't need to bring it up right now, but we'll talk about it. So Varkey's Gums, this tight end right here, going from Arkansas to UNLV. Shout out to Dan Mullen, the new head coach at UNLV, former Florida head coach. You go and get a very good tight end. Varkey's Gums, for me, really popped on tape. Out of high school, he went to North Texas. And when I went and did the research on him at North Texas, I said, whoa, this kid's great. So you go from North Texas, you have a great season, you're a phenomenal athlete, and you transfer to UNLV. And when you get to, you transfer to Arkansas. And when you get to the SEC, they got a guy on the team, and his name is Luke Haas. And Luke Haas is better than you, period. So that's what happens. So now you never play at Arkansas. He's been on the bench. So this is a very good player, though. It's a hidden gem. It's a guy who I expect to dominate at UNLV. We'll see what happens, but looks like a good move to me. It really does. Another good player, Andy Jean here. If you remember, Andy Jean is a true freshman. He enrolled early at Florida. During the spring that year, this was 2 years ago, dominating. Now, I think he got injured at some point. Receiver room was highly recruited via the transfer portal. They brought in leading receivers from other teams. They didn't really want to rely on their recruiting. So here we have a young man who fell out of favor with the rotation and coaching staff, and he hits the transfer portal, and he's going to Pitt, where I think he'll be highly appreciated and utilized. Remember, Pitt had a new offensive coordinator this year from Western Carolina, and they were able to dominate and score a ton of points. What they need are those great wide receivers, and they have a history of finding great wide receivers at Pitt. You name it. You'll be hard. Let me rephrase it. You will be hard pressed to find a university with more dominant wide receivers than Pitt. And all you young kids who start screaming at me and saying LSU, Ohio State, go do your research. Pitt has a pedigree for finding amazing collegiate wide receivers, amazing wide receivers. Period. I'm telling you. That's just the way it goes. So shout out to Andy Jean. Next guy I want to talk about. Let's see who else we got here. Excuse me, I'm clicking. Shout out to Kirby following his coach to Washington State. Not going to touch on too many others. Let's keep going. Robbie Ashford going to Wake Forest. Finally a decent transfer, but still silly. Still a silly transfer. Will he start at Wake Forest? Sure, I guess. My thing is Robbie Ashford has never been able to be honest with himself and the fact that he should not be at the Power 4 level. He just is not good enough, and he should be starting games in the Sun Belt, and he should have been doing that for many years now, and he refuses to do that. Remember, man, there's somebody out there right now committed to go play at Penn State, and he's telling everybody in high school, I'm going to Penn State. And he's bragging about it. He's at the gym right now talking to a girl, and she's like, oh, do you play sports? He's like, yeah, I'm committed to Penn State. Dude's a 3-star and never going to see the field. And they're lying to themselves. And they just can't tell themselves the truth, and they keep doing these bullshit transfers. But this might be his best transfer yet. There's not much competition in the Wake Forest quarterback room. New coaching staff. Maybe you got a chance. I'm not a big fan of Robbie Ashford's game as a quarterback, so there you go. Jordan Shaw leaving Washington, going to A&M. Another young man that's just really delusional about his skill set and what he should be doing. I did not see anything this year. The year before, let me explain something to you. I watched him play at Indiana. And the only reason when he jumped in the transfer portal and left Indiana, he was going to Arizona because he was recruited I'm not going to say friends, but he was initially recruited out of high school by the Arizona Director of Player Personnel. So there was a relationship they leveraged there. Then Arizona, the entire coaching staff, gets up and leaves and goes to Washington. So when they get to Washington, they bring this kid with them. And did he play at Washington? Yeah, he played fine. But was he good enough to go and get paid and play at A&M? I think this is a ridiculous move. It doesn't improve. To me, it's not a good move. Like, A&M has terrible DBs. But this ain't it. And something's wrong here when you're evaluating players, and they start signing players that I wouldn't sign, if you will. Like, there's a great player. Jalen Catalon. Leaving UNLV, had a bounce-back year after playing at Arkansas and Texas. This is a Power 4 guy. This is a major university guy. You saw his impact on defense this year when he went down to UNLV. He absolutely dominated. He's a complete stud at UNLV. Now, my only concern is he's the third safety that Missouri has signed. Missouri has signed 3 safeties 2 linebackers, 2 defensive ends, and a defensive tackle, and 1 corner. They signed a lot of defensive players, and for me, it just feels like somebody's not going to get there. But they need all the depth in the world. They need all the help in the world. More power to them. It's a good signing. Let's see another one. Rayshawn Luke finally being smart. Shout out to Rayshawn Luke. I wrote to him on Twitter. I said, bro, what are you doing? He said, I think it was on his trip to UCLA. And he said, I could get used to this. And it was him sitting in a theater of some sort, maybe the team meeting area, an auditorium is what it looked like, but it had steps, and he had on a UCLA jersey or jacket or memorabilia, paraphernalia, if you will. He had on UCLA gear, and he was sitting down on the steps, and he's like, I can get used to this. And I wrote to him, and I reposted it and everything on Twitter, and I said, get used to sitting on wood, bro. Get used to sitting on a bench if you're going to UCLA. They don't want you. They're not going to play you. But here we have an amazing one. Here he's going to Fresno State. That's a pretty good move. I think that's where he should have been the whole time. That's his caliber. That's where he's at. I think it's a sneaky good move by Fresno State. They convinced their running back to come back, get out of the portal. That's another one we'll talk about in Rashad, but it's just Sherrod, excuse me. But it's pretty good stuff. Not a bad move. Chauncey Magwood going to Purdue. I believe he started his career at Kentucky. Is that right? Kentucky, UCF, now Purdue. Okay, man. Get the picture. Get the message. Purdue needs receivers. I get it. Get the message, bro. You're not this guy. You're not this guy. Daquan Finn going back to the MAC. Should have never left. Him, Rashad Amos, and all these other guys who are delusional about their talent and ability should have never left. You left Toledo to go be a bum at Baylor, and I told you guys this. I talked about it. If you go back to the quarterback episode, let's go episode 1, episode 2, somewhere around there last season. Go to the live tab on YouTube. You're watching this show right now. You should be on the live tab at YouTube. Go to YouTube, my homepage, right? Search RicoKnows on YouTube. Go to the live tab and go scroll down until you get to the quarterback episodes. And go back and watch episode 1. And listen to me talk about these quarterbacks. And when I talk about Daquan Finn, the first thing I told you was, can't play at Baylor. Not good. I watched him play at Toledo the whole year. I don't think he's an improvement on the roster. And sure enough, he found himself on the bench. Sir Robinson took his spot and looked way better. And they already had Robinson on the team. It doesn't make sense. So going to Miami of Ohio, probably good enough to start. They suck. I don't care who they got, Gabbard or whoever. It doesn't matter. He go over there, go start. Okay. Cyrus Truff, this kid right here, I went and watched his tape. I want everybody to understand something. West Virginia, the coaching staff, I had a guy, a homer, a straight up homer. He's like a West Virginia page on Twitter. He wrote me and he said, Rico, you know all the info on the transfer portal. Who are we landing in the transfer portal? And he gave me he asked me the question. So I did some research and I went and looked into the players that Jacksonville State was recruiting, that we're bringing in on visits and stuff. And I said, these are the guys that West Virginia is going to be recruiting. And he said, no. We got $8 million from this booster and this donation, and we got this. We're going to get way better transfers than you think. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I think Rich Rod and his staff have been recruiting and evaluating players that go to Jacksonville State. That's where they're going to leverage the relationships. That's the caliber of player they're going to get. And that's the reality of the situation for now. I think that influx of money is going to go towards the coaching salaries, not the NIL. And if you pay attention to West Virginia and who they're signing right now, it's a lot of small school guys. It's a lot of obscure school guys. And that's because you can get them at a bargain. You don't have to pay them hundreds of thousands of dollars. They're grateful for $20,000 or $30,000. They're grateful for any type of stipend. So you pay attention to West Virginia's transfer portal class. They might land 1 or 2 really good players, but I think a lot of it is going to be leveraging small school guys that they were already evaluating, and they're going to leverage those relationships. Reality of the situation. Sam Jackson, the 5th, no longer playing quarterback. They say he's transferring to Oklahoma State to be a wide receiver. He just left Auburn where he was a wide receiver. Before that, he was at Cal and TCU as a quarterback. This was a kid who used to play wide receiver in high school, won a state title with Peyton Thorne his sophomore year. Then he moved to quarterback. He's just a good athlete. He's a tweener, man. He's not a great quarterback, and he's not a great receiver. He's just a tweener. and that's a bad place to be. But shout out to him. Another team believes in him. I will say that Oklahoma State has been signing guys that are very underwhelming to me. That's the reality of the situation. Shout out to Jaden Rashad back in the portal. Another money grab. This kid's just out here trying to get paid every year. There's nothing else to it. He has no desire to play football. He won't be playing football at a high level. I just don't see it. Former 5-star leaving Oregon, going to Cal. I can't say his last name, bro. Sagapolu. This is why I'm not on TV. I just be chilling, bro. I can't say these guys' names. Sensabaugh, good player. Good luck. Malachi Thomas, backup running back at Virginia Tech. Couldn't start over by Shelton. Anytime he came in, I was never thoroughly impressed with him. But he's leaving Virginia Tech, going to Purdue. I believe he makes Purdue's running back room better. But it's probably not a great move. It really isn't. I don't understand. If you look at Virginia Tech as a whole, they're losing by Shelton. And now they're losing you. And unless you had something wrong with the coaching staff and you guys didn't get along, it just doesn't make sense to me. So it is what it is. Okay, Zion Branch, Zachariah Branch, both going to Georgia. Georgia has speed guys who drop the ball everywhere. Now they'll get a speed guy who can make plays. Hopefully they get creative on their offensive scheme and get them the ball. I will tell you this. I don't understand any receiver transferring to Georgia. None. I'll never understand it. In the history of Georgia, they have one 1,000-yard receiver or none. One? Is it Brock Bowers not a receiver? One? Maybe one. I think it's none. In the history of your university, you don't have 1,000-yard. When there's other schools who have two 1,000-yard receivers this year, you got a team that just doesn't do that. They don't throw to receivers. Oh, but Rico, no, man. I've told you guys this for about 3 years now. The problem with Georgia is they cannot suffice wide receivers. So even if you recruit them, they're going to leave. They're going to transfer and go to different schools and become impact players at other schools. You'll lose your leading receiver, just gone. You have to find a homegrown no-star kid like Ladd McConkey to convince them to stay. But everybody else just gets up and leaves. And I'm talking about historically over the last, well, let's go 10 years. You know, it's rough. It's rough. And they've never really used it. You could have A.J. Green at receiver, and they didn't use him properly. So seeing Zachariah Branch go there, congratulations. I don't understand the move, but congratulations. You're going where you're wanted. You're probably going where you're being compensated, but I just don't understand. I just don't. Not from a wide receiver perspective at all. Really don't get down with that. Let's see. Shout out to Deani getting his shot. DJ Wingfield, good lineman. Going to fill a gap. They need offensive linemen. This is a young man that was starting at, where was he starting before this? New Mexico? I think it was Houston or New Mexico, one of the red teams. And went to Purdue. Now he's going to USC. Congratulations. Let me see. I'll mention other. Oh, Squirrel. So Squirrel leaving Tennessee, going to Florida State. Another terrible move by my assessment. If you're going to Florida State, they probably need receivers. Definitely. But have you looked at the quarterback position? Because if you got tired of running routes and you were wide open and nobody was getting you the ball, I hope you're ready for what you're about to see at that school and on that team. I hope you're ready because Thomas Castellanos cannot throw anything downfield whatsoever. So those are all the transfers I wanted to go over real quick. One more thing I wanted to talk about is if you want to know my assessment on players in real time, excuse me, my computer's acting up here. In real time, all you have to do is follow me on Twitter. It's RicoKnows, TikTok, all one word. We've got our whole list here. We've got all our players. We talk about nothing but the transfer portal and high school recruits, and it's a good time. Please show up. We only have about 5,600 followers. Not a big deal. I'm not really pressing for it, but I hope you guys show up for it and you get the information early. Okay, so I try my best to get that information to you guys. Another thing, we have the national title coming up tomorrow. This is Patreon. Download Patreon. It's an app, just like OnlyFans or whatever else you guys are watching those girls on. You get to Patreon, search RicoKnows, go find it, become an MVP, and you'll get my picks for tomorrow's games. I have a lock on there. It's a multi-unit lock. I bet several units on my prop bets. If you can make prop bets, if you can do prize picks, if you can do the picks, this is where it's at, the parlays. By the way, this Friday, UFC, we do UFC fights every single Saturday. You go to collections in here, just like this, and you go to UFC picks. I have 471 videos on UFC picks. 471 in the last year. I kid you not. 471 in the last year. You can learn so much about UFC fighters. betting what we do. My locks in UFC are at 83.5%. We got the numbers down here. 82.5% on locks. Leans are 63. Value bets are 37. Avoid the purples. You'll win a shit ton of money. Parlays and props are at 53. If I tell you this guy's going to win by knockout, I get that right 53% of the time. If I tell you this fight's going to go to the distance, I get that right 53% of the time. Highly advantageous for you if you're a gambler. Shout out to the MVPs. UFC carries us all off season. When I'm not studying college football, transfer portal, I am making picks in the UFC, and MVPs are eating and getting it right. Okay. So today we're going to talk about running backs, only committed running backs, no running backs that are currently in the portal that aren't committed. I won't be talking about them. We do have a list of all the best running backs uncommitted right here. The reason I don't talk about them is a number of them will probably not find a team, so it's a lot of wasted energy. Also, I hate speculation and guessing where players are going. I don't need that in my life. I only like talking about the results and what's going to happen. I am under the weather. Don't let that confuse you. It's not that I have a lack of enthusiasm or anything. I just need to spray this real quick. I went to Atlanta to the aquarium. I went to go see some stuff at the aquarium with Kim's mother. She's visiting for the holidays, and there was just so many people in there. I think I got sick, and it took about 2 days for it to hit me. And here we are. I'm pretty beat. But I still worked a full day, because we never quit, and it's Sunday, and that's a full day for me. So, all right, I'm going to move this window over. I want to talk to you guys, and I'm going to jump to the chat. If you guys got any questions, write it all the way out in the chat so that when I get to it, I'll know what you're saying. If you say stuff like, oh, he's bad, I have no idea who you're talking about by the time I read that comment. So write a name all the way out, write a thing all the way out. Okay, first thing I want to do is apologize. When I started preparing for this episode, Justice Haynes had not committed yet. So Justice Haynes is not going to be discussed in this video. I can tell you everything about Justice Haynes. I really can, but I'm not going to do it for the sake of organization. And if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, I have a database that I maintain while I talk to you and while I get prepared for these shows, and I have to keep it sorted, and the names are already in the details of the videos and all this stuff. So Justice Haynes will be in episode 2, and I won't get to that until I do episode 1 of the wide receivers, tight ends, offensive linemen, defensive linemen, linebackers, secondary, episode 2 on quarterbacks, then episode 3 on running backs. So every 3 or 4 days, I'll do an episode, and if you just keep watching the channel, go to the live tab, you'll see my future episodes, and I'll talk about Justice Haynes. I've been watching Justice Haynes since he was at Blessed Trinity here in Georgia. I've seen him in person. I know all about him. I think he's great. So shout out to Michigan. All right, Wayshawn Parker is the first running back we're going to talk about today. Wayshawn Parker, it's so funny, you know. Before the season concluded, if you had talked to any SEC fan, Big 10 fan, Big 12 fan, or ACC fan, they wouldn't give a shit about Washington State. Not a care in the world. They wouldn't talk about Washington State. They wouldn't say how great Washington State is. They wouldn't do any of that stuff. But the minute the transfer portal opens up, now Washington State quarterback John Mateer is the number 1 quarterback in the portal. Wayshawn Parker is the number 1 running back in the portal. And now all of a sudden they're all experts on Washington State. Never watched them play a day in their life. And they're all talking about it like they're experts and they know what's going on. It bugs me. Because I started talking about Wayshawn Parker. If you're an MVP, you know this. MVP premium members on Patreon and YouTube. You can hit join and you'll be an MVP as well. You know how I feel about Wayshawn Parker. It was week 1, and I was like, this kid is the juice. This kid is the bee's knees. This kid is fast. He's got breakaway speed. He's a problem. Now, he's not as productive as I thought he should be. He only had, I'm going to double check my notes here, 735 yards. I shouldn't say only. He's a true freshman, 735 yards rushing, but I felt like he should have done more than the 4 touchdowns. So I need him to be more consistent in the red zone and not just be one of this between the 20s guy, where you make your money is in the red zone. But this is a young man going to Utah, and he's following his running backs coach. His running backs coach, Mark, I can't say his last name, but he's a BYU alumni, and he just got hired down at Utah. So you bring the running backs coach from Washington State down, and he's bringing his prize pupil with him. He's bringing his stud. And I don't blame him. That his running backs coach is a people person for him. He's the guy who gave him the chance, and he's following him. So more power to him. There were other running backs that were going to go to Utah, right? First thing I'm going to say is Wayshawn Parker, when he hit the portal, he was supposed to go. He had 4 schools. It was USC, UCLA, Utah, and Arizona. And I get it. UCLA and USC are always going to be in the hunt. Good coaching staffs. Everybody wants to go play for Deshaun Foster, things like that. And then Arizona, Alonzo Carter, one of the best running back coaches in America. Yeah, he's going to convince you, hey, come play for me. But this man's going to go with his old coach and go into an offensive scheme that's being run by Jason Beck from New Mexico. This is going to be a 1-2 punch you don't want to mess with. Wayshawn Parker with Devin Dampier is a problem. Utah's offense is going to look very different next year. Very different. You guys are going to be ready for it. And if Utah becomes a high-scoring offense, high-flying, high-scoring offense, it's going to be a problem for the Big 12 because their defense is already elite and mean. They already do the offseason really well. They already lift everything and move everything. It's incredible. So this young man here, he just needs to work on receiving because he only had like 11 receptions on the season, 100 yards or so, 1 touchdown. He needs to work on that aspect of his game. But as far as just the thing that sticks out on tape is cutbacks. Cutbacks all day long. Cutbacks. And the thing that I found most funny is Utah lost a lot of running backs in the transfer portal. And I'm going to talk about it later on, I think, as I scroll down. They lost a lot of running backs in the transfer portal, and they were trying to address their needs. And I remember when they signed Mike Washington, the New Mexico State, Buffalo, New Mexico State transfer, Mike Washington. And I have a funny story about Mike Washington, and that's he's after money. Mike Washington is after money. I talked to some NIL directors out there. I literally talk to them every single day now. It's been pretty cool. And they told me, his agent's annoying. They wanted this much money. They wanted this much money. And it's funny because you think you're going to go to Utah. Then they sign Wayshawn Parker, and now you don't want to go to Utah anymore. Mike Washington flips and goes to Arkansas. But he was committed to Utah initially. So I think he's the alpha male in the room, Wayshawn Parker. I think he's a stud. He knows what he's doing. 6 foot, 199 pounds, 3 years of eligibility. Hopefully he stays at Utah with his coaches and they build something great. Okay. Speaking of build something great, Fluff Bothwell. Shout out to Fluff. I did a film review on Fluff last year. Excuse me, my nose is running. I am sick. I did a film review on Fluff last year when he was in high school, and they were telling me, Rico, what do you think of this young man? You know, he had his shirt off, he was ripped with a 6-pack, and he was running over everybody. And I said, guys, this is a problem. Guys like this shouldn't be going to South Alabama. And I love South Alabama. Love them. I'm all South Alabama all day. And I said, the coaches, the teams are sleeping. They're signing the wrong players. And I'm telling them that right now on Twitter every single day, and they're not listening to me. And they're all going to be unemployed soon, and I'll still be here. And they don't listen to me. Fluff Bothwell belonged to the Power 5 level. Now, when he was coming out of high school, he did have some interest from Mississippi State. He had already been to the school and visited, but he made a smart decision. He said, I'm not going to Mississippi State. New coaching staff, going to be on the bench in the SEC. Nah, I'll go to South Alabama and show my worth. And he's sharing the backfield. Remember, he was sharing the backfield at South Alabama with an Ole Miss transfer, with a senior. And he still went for 832 yards and 11 touchdowns on only 111 carries. So it's no surprise that he hits the transfer portal and becomes a coveted commodity. Arizona wanted him. Cincinnati wanted him. And he had the Ole Miss offered him. And he had the maturity to say, you know what? Mississippi State's been recruiting me for a while. I'm going to go over there. I like what they're doing. The crazy thing is, he said in an interview that he chose Mississippi State because of how they help him recover from injuries. He said recover from being sore or something like that. He saw the facilities and they sold him on recovery. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. I don't think that that's true at all. I'd imagine payments and offensive scheme really matter. I'd imagine being the number 1 running back and not having to share carries will probably matter. But shout out to Fluff Bothwell. I think he's a stud. If you've never watched him play, he's just a souped-up version of Ahmad Hardy right below him down here. Ahmad Hardy is the 3rd running back according to the transfer portal here. True freshman running back. Went to ULM, much the same as Fluff Bothwell. Go to one of those group of 5 schools. Show the flip out. And Ahmad Hardy did. Now, Ahmad Hardy did not have to share the backfield with anybody. So his numbers are insane. I want to say, I'm going to look over here. His numbers are 1,351 yards and 13 touchdowns. What's crazy about Ahmad Hardy is he's kind of built like Herschel Walker. He's went for 237 carries this year. So if he's utilized as a primary back at Missouri, are they going to ride him? Because they ride their running backs pretty heavy. Are they going to ride him for that many carries? That's pretty crazy. Now, Missouri's losing Nate Noel, Marcus Carroll. Lacy hit the transfer portal. So Missouri's running back room is bare as hell. And I went and looked at these kids. I want to say something right now. I went and watched tape on a kid named Marquise Davis. And this is going to be one of those moments. Shout out to Connor Foreman and all the MVPs. You guys listen to me. I went and watched tape on 2 freshmen at Missouri. Marquise Davis, Cleveland Heights, Ohio. And the other kid I went and watched was Brennan Haygood. And Brennan Haygood's a Texas kid. I don't think he belongs at Missouri. I don't think he'll ever see the field and for any significant playing time. I think Brennan Haygood is a 3-star and should probably be playing at North Texas, okay? Or Texas State or something. But Marquise Davis, to me, I think he's better than Ahmad Hardy right now. I do. And I understand they're bringing in Ahmad Hardy to be the starter. He just rushed for 1,300 yards. But you guys got to understand, I have watched 1,200-yard rushers in the group of 5 transfer to SEC schools and never play and sit the bench the whole year. Shout out to Rashad Amos. I have seen highly productive guys who don't translate in the SEC and don't become that bell cow back they envisioned. I'm not saying Ahmad Hardy's not good, because I think he is good. I'm all for Ahmad Hardy. I'm telling you how great I think Marquise Davis is. I watched that man's tape and I went, yo, it's a player right here. Now Marquise Davis is playing in Ohio, like I said, and so it looks like it's easier. I don't care. He looked great. And then obviously Jamal Roberts is the other freshman redshirt at Missouri who's probably going to be fighting for playing time as well. But Ahmad Hardy's coming in to be the bell cow back, their star player. I think Missouri wanted other players as well, and we'll get into that. They gave other players trips and visits, so it's not like Ahmad Hardy was everything to them. But you just got to remember, if you are a 1,000-yard rusher in the group of 5 somewhere, that does not automatically mean you're better than the running backs at other teams. It just doesn't. And when I watched the tape, I was thoroughly impressed with this kid. Okay, Marquise Davis. I'm just letting you know, Marquise Davis looks like a real player. Speaking of being a real player, Quinten Joyner here. Quinten Joyner, coming out of high school, the 4th best running back out of high school. You know what's crazy? And this is going to be like a little trivia question for you. Quinten Joyner is from Manor, Texas. Manor, Texas. M-A-N-O-R, Manor, Texas. High school. Manor High School in Texas. He is replacing Taj Brooks, who's also from Manor, Texas. So now you've got back-to-back great running backs from the same high school at Texas Tech. They needed more depth. Cameron Valdez is still recovering from an injury. He had like a torn ACL. He's the second running back. Obviously, they had the other kid, Dickey. I did a film review on him. I think he's cool. Is it Cameron Dickey? Can't be Cameron Dickey, is it? Maybe it is. But getting Quinten Joyner is a big get for Texas Tech because Joyner's a complete stud. Absolute stud. Quinten Joyner, if you guys don't know, he chose Texas Tech over Ohio State. Ohio State losing Henderson, losing Quinshon Judkins, and they need running backs, and they cannot land Quinten Joyner, who's amazing. I watched spring football for USC last year. I watch every team's spring game. If it's televised, I find it and I watch it. And I watched USC's spring game, and I remember they were doing an interview with an offensive coordinator. Then it was, an offensive coordinator and a running backs coach. They were interviewing somebody, 3 different coaches, and they all said the same thing. Oh, we have a kid named Quinten Joyner. He breaks for 20-yarders every day at practice. And right when they said it, in the spring game, he breaks for like 30, 40 yards. Boom. And they go, he does that every single day. Every day he beats us. And I thought, okay, I wrote down in my notes, USC defense sucks, right? Some freshman keeps beating you guys off the ball. But what it is they went out and got a senior in Woody Marks. And they said, Woody Marks is going to take over this running back room. And he did. And he's an adult, and he's ready, and he's going pro. And they thought, man, this kid is our future, Quinten Joyner. Not anymore, he's gone. And they're having to replace him, and I'll get to it. They're replacing him with Eli Sanders. I'm going to talk about it later. But I think this is a big blow to USC's running back room because Quinten Joyner is very good. I think he's probably the best running back skills-wise of all the running backs in the transfer portal. Like, if we had tryouts tomorrow and I was like, all right, who are we going to pick to start? I think Quinten Joyner is my starter among all these transfers. I really do. And I know, you guys, I like production more than potential all day long. But Quinten Joyner is that nice. So congratulations to Texas Tech. You got a complete stud. I expect to see him just put in work. That kid, the burst on him for his size, 5'11", 216, and he just finds a way to hit the holes harder, stronger, faster, farther, all that shit. And then we get to C.J. Donaldson. This is a consolation prize for Ohio State. Ohio State's trying to sign running backs. You're signing a guy in C.J. Donaldson. You're going to hear his story 100 times over. Oh, he's converted tight end and all this stuff. Okay, got it. He came to college as a tight end, converted to running back. Cool. Here's what's more significant about C.J. Donaldson. At West Virginia, he's sharing the running back room with Jaheim White, a freshman who showed up and started taking carries from him. If you're not the go-to guy at West Virginia, if you're not dominating games and you don't look like a bell cow back, what the hell are you going to look like at Ohio State? Oh, he's going to be a better teammate, Rico. No. He's just not that guy. And they didn't want him. They brought in Joyner first. They had to settle on C.J. Donaldson. They brought in Joyner for a visit. And Joyner went with Texas Tech. He went with that oil money. So it's not a bad get. I like C.J. Donaldson personally. Every time he's got a game, I'm always picking West Virginia. I'm saying that's an anytime touchdown waiting to happen, all that shit. But it's just one of those things where it's like, I'm going to just leave it like that. I just don't believe in him. Another thing, where is it at? Oh, I wanted to talk on it on Quinten Joyner, but I'll bring it up when I talk about Terion Stewart lower. But it's just, if you're not that guy, you're trying to replace how many yards? It's not about the production. It's about the skill level. How far down the totem pole of skill is C.J. Donaldson in comparison to what you're losing? Like, I think the difference between the starting running backs at Ohio State right now and C.J. Donaldson is the fucking Grand Canyon. I think it's epically huge. So while you might be productive, this is Chip Trainum right here. This is nothing. That's how I feel, man. It just doesn't look good to me. I think it's a bad move. Good signing for Ohio State. They have to find somebody, but this is a Band-Aid, and you have a damn. You got your leg amputated, and you're putting on a Flintstone Band-Aid. It just doesn't. Where's the tourniquet, bro? Or where's the other leg? I need another leg. This dude ain't no leg. All right, I'm going to get to the chat here in a second. Dante Dowdell, leaving Nebraska, going to Kentucky. Now, Nebraska's saying that they got tampered. I don't care about none of that. Kentucky wanted Ahmad Hardy. They brought him in for a visit first. Ahmad Hardy scoring, he passed on them. So Ahmad Hardy says, I'm not going. I'm going to go to Missouri instead of Kentucky. So now Kentucky has to find a different running back. And they go and get Dante Dowdell. Now, how good is Dante Dowdell? Well, I don't even know if he's better than Jamarion Wilcox. Now, Jamarion Wilcox, he's a Georgia kid, played at South Paulding. Jamarion Wilcox is the leading rusher at Kentucky right now. But for whatever reason, Kentucky coaches don't like him. I mean, they'll tell you they do. But their actions tell me they don't. Because he's only 5'7", 200 pounds or so. He's got a good, strong lower body. Pause. And he gets yards after contact, and he's good. I like him. They don't like him. They want 6'2", 220-pound running backs. They want bigger guys. And they keep trying to find these bigger, powerful backs, and they're not football players. I'm not saying Dante Dowdell's not a football player. Is he better than Jamarion Wilcox? I don't think so. So it's just a depth piece to me. Watch him start because they want to give him, because they're going to be paying him, and they're going to want to start him and all this shit, guys. College coaches are going to get fired because they're playing the wrong players. They're giving the wrong guys playing time. That's how I feel about it. All right, I'm going to stop right there before I go to Cameron Seldon. I'm going to jump to the chat. I'm missing a guy. What happened to Roman? That's weird. Where is he? I should be looking at committed players. Is Hemby enrolled? Did Hemby switch and he's no longer where's Indiana? Give me a second. I'm missing a player, which is one of the running backs I should be seeing here is Hemby, Big Ten, Indiana. That's weird. I guess he's not going. Hemby changed his mind? Oh, this is uncommitted. Let's go to all. No, he's there. Oh, he's enrolled now. All right, Roman Hemby's enrolled, so that we have to do the enrolled category. Remember, we did that last year. I apologize, MVPs. So we're looking at all committeds right now. Now we have players that are enrolled, which is annoying because I can't do it on a different screen. We're going to go in here like this. We're going to go to all. Excuse me. And then we're going to go to status. Come on, bro. This shit ain't even loading. Sorry, MVPs. Hate to make sausage in front of you. I'm going to hit refresh. We're on the all here status. Enrolled. Let's see what comes up. There we go. We got three guys. Two running backs to talk about enrolled. It's funny. All right. I'll talk about them after the break. Let's go to the chat, and then we'll answer you guys' questions. Let's go chat. Sorry, guys. I'm working on it. I got to learn how to do all my stuff. I'm a one-man crew right now, and I'm tired. Hunter Darling says, "Let's ride." What up, Hunter Darling, man? Good friend of the channel. He's been a fan for a long time. Kairos MMA says, "Appreciate you doing the stream today. Thank you." You're welcome, man. It is Sunday. I forget what day of the week it is sometimes. I just felt like talking. Divine Obsidian says, "Yo, Rico, what up, man? Try glassing. No team should even take a look. No team should even look at Rashad. You know, I have players in that are in high school right now that I think are better than Rashad. I'm not kidding. I got guys on my Hidden Gems playlist that I think are better than Rashad right now. 2 of them. Unless they want to catch a lawsuit. Hey, Squirrel about to have 300 yards and 17 targets for a season. Squirrel White going to Florida State, about to finish the season with nothing. GK says, "I'm excited for Wayshawn Parker at Utah. Dampier with him in defense. Utah doesn't even need receivers next year." Joking, of course. Devin Dampier doesn't need to be throwing. Remember, he did 12 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Yeah, he don't need to be throwing. So you're not joking. Let's get his stuff under control here first. Rico, what up, Patrick Snipes? Tyler Milby says, "I know he is not on your list, but how do you feel about Malachi Thomas transferring to Purdue?" So, how do I feel about it? I mean, I don't feel any which way about it. Congratulations to him for choosing a school. And I talked about it earlier. I'm not going to go in depth on the current event guys instead of the top guys. But I'm going to tell you that I don't see a reason for leaving Virginia Tech. If you're the second running back and you're about to be the starter, I just don't see it. And I don't think it's much of an upgrade at Purdue. Now, if you're not good enough to play at Virginia Tech and the coaching staff didn't want you, and Purdue's not an upgrade. Purdue's about to be a real rough place to play football for a little bit. Just saying. Taking all the knowledge in, Rico. Shout out to Eric. Eric, man, I appreciate you, bro. If I could say your last name, I would. Zempinski. Chiefy says, "Rico, what do you think about the Penn State running backs? And do you think either, neither, or both should stay for another year?" Well, I'm here to talk about the transfer portal, not necessarily rosters and teams. I don't think anything of them. Singleton and Katron, they're fine. I mean, they play football. They're good. They're probably gonna. I don't know what they should do. I don't really care. They're not transferring, so I'm not thinking about them right now. My mind is on transfers. Do they want to stay another year with Aller if he comes back, or does he go pro? Like I don't know. I don't waste time on speculation like that. I just don't waste any energy on that. If you guys get away from talking about rumors and mock drafts and speculation, if you get away from all that, you have so much more time to obtain tangible information and to learn things that are just so much better than talking about rumors. Like recruiting websites are the worst. They're notorious for that shit. They just talk about rumors. Oh, so-and-so down to the top 4 teams. What if you never read one of those articles in your life? Just never click on them. You'll find out where he's going when he makes his decision. And you would have wasted 0 energy on all the rumor shit. So just don't worry about it. You know what I'm saying? Don't worry about it. Ashton Wilson says, you think Durell... Oh, what up, Lewis Hampton? Good to see you, man. Roll Tide roll. You think Durell Robinson going to be good? I think he's going to be really good, to be honest. Okay, well, thank you, Ashton Wilson. I will be talking about him shortly. He's going to come up on the list, and I'll let you know what I think about it. Low Tone Capone says, we lost out on the Bench Bros to Georgia. I don't know what that means. I don't know who he is. Did you see Malik Benson top 3 teams? He's not playing at any of those 3. Yeah, I don't worry about that kind of stuff. I did not see it. I don't see that stuff. I don't even click on it. It doesn't show up in my algorithm. It's not on my my For You page. It's just not, because I don't read rumors. So none of that stuff shows up for me. I don't follow those pages that do. If I see a page writes that shit, I just block them. I literally block them. Any top 3 stuff. Ajay Hall committed to Sac State. Congratulations to him for finding another opportunity and a coaching staff that believes in him. Maybe he thinks he can be the next Ricky White. I don't see it. So, and if he tears it up at Sac State, I'd say check his luggage. When you were saying Cameron Valdez is the backup at Texas Tech, he's probably going to hit the portal. Jacoby Williams is probably going to be RB2 behind Joyner. You know, I made a video, Cade. I made a video last preseason, and I want to say it's on the live tab on YouTube, and I can actually do this while we're talking here. I did it on second-year running backs, or was it first-year running backs? It might have been Texas Tech win totals. Let me do that. Texas Tech. I'm going to go to YouTube real quick. My bad. So there's a win totals video on Texas Tech, and I told everybody there are 2 running backs I really believe in, and I said there's a 3-star kid that all these guys are sleeping on. There's a 3-star kid. I just watched tape on him, and I think he's better than everybody. And I'm going to go to live, and I'm going to go find that episode because it wasn't live. It was a video. So we'll go to videos. And it's Texas Tech win total video. You'd have to scroll back and find it. It was made before the season. It's not hard to find. It's just a matter of finding it. And it might even be on a playlist. I'm going to keep scrolling back. I just want to find it real quick. And if you go watch it, you'll hear me talk about Jacoby Williams. There it is. I found it. I found it that fast. Check this out. So right here, this video right here, 4 months ago, only 26 people watched it. And in this video, I talk about Jacoby Williams. And watch this. I'll be cool, man. Let me see if I can find it. It'll be so cool. This will be cool, right? Let's see if it's right here. Let me see something. I'm going to turn it up.
Demons. I need DBs that are running under 11 flat in the 100 meters. There's McKell coming over. So congratulations to him. Oh, DeBraylon Carroll, defensive lineman. Great depth from a defensive tackle. I think he's like 6 foot or shorter. When I watch him on film, he looks like a little stout, like a tree stump, if you will. Pairing up with Will Hammond, by the way. Will Hammond threw for like 700 yards, 800 yards in a high school game. I did a video on it. These guys are phenomenal. Freshman incoming. Cameron Dickey, they say safety, that's a running back. I think he was like the leading rusher in Austin. Yeah, I think it's Austin. Somewhere I did a video on him on TikTok. He reached out to the channel. He got a high school film review done. Cameron Dickey is him. He's so much. You see how they give him 3 stars? He's better than 4 and 5-star running backs. He really is. And then if you go down this list, I was doing this earlier today. I was going down every single player's film. I'm watching film on every player. Every huddle tape there is. And if you were watching me on TikTok live, you heard me. I'm watching the tape and I go, oh shit, we found one. I had this epiphany. While I'm sitting there watching the film, I'm like, oh my God, we found one. And what I'm talking about is an absolute monster. Jacoby Williams down here, this athlete, 3 stars. You're tripping, bro. You're tripping. This man runs a 14.26, 110 high hurdles. I'm a track athlete. At least I was many, many years ago. I ran track in high school. Had my high school records in the hurdles. When I see a guy ran a 14.26 in the 110s and won the state 2A title, bro, I got so much respect for his athleticism, coordination, speed. Turn on the tape. Boom. That's an athlete. There's no way Jacoby Williams is not going to get on the field at some point. There's just no way. I'm telling you, look, I don't care about stars. I don't care what the recruiting websites gave him 3-star. I don't care about none of that. I turned on this man's tape and I went, whoa. That's an NFL athlete right there. Whoa, we got one. I just started screaming, we got one. I know what it is. I evaluate tape all day long. So when I see one, I let you know. And I'll dig down here in the 3 stars all day long.
So there I was. This was 4 months ago. Well, it's not really 4 months ago. This was, in the off season. I made this public 4 months ago. There I was going through transfer portal or huddle film on the players, and I said, "Oh, this guy's not 3 stars. He's a true freshman, 3 stars. No, he's gonna be on the field. He's gonna be a starter." So for you to tell me that he's gonna be the number 2 running back and he's behind Joyner and all this, bro. Okay, you're not telling me shit about the team I don't already know, bro. I do this. I know every team in America. I study every team in America. It's on in 4K. It's already been recorded. I already talked about that whole running back room. I already talked about it completely. And you're not going to teach me nothing about your team, bro. You're not. I do my own assessments. I don't need writers and people. I don't need anybody to tell me shit. That's what you guys don't understand. I sit here and I go and say, oh, who's the best? Like somebody says, who's the best 10 quarterbacks in the draft? You probably go to Google. Probably go to YouTube or Twitter and start looking up who's the best quarterbacks in the mock drafts and all that. I don't do that. I pull out a pen and paper. Well, I use Excel spreadsheets, and I just start fucking watching film. And then I watch one guy and I go, wait, this guy's better than that guy. This guy's better than that guy. And I put them in my own order. I don't give a fuck what your orders are. And that's how I became a platform. That's how I became who I am. Because I can assess talent. I have a gift. So when I go and look at an entire recruiting class from Texas Tech, and they've never played a down of football at the collegiate level, I look at the whole recruiting class and I go, they got a 300 carry guy. They got a returning 1,400-yard rusher. Right? And I go, I don't care about none of that. No. Oh, they got this guy. No, I don't care about none of that. I found this guy down here who's 3 stars, and he's going to be on the field. And he becomes the running back by the end of the season, and he's on the field, and now he's the number 2 runner. I already know that. I already called it. I called it months ago, before any publication in the world. That's why I'm RicoKnows. It's stuff like that. So I appreciate you writing it, bro, but you wasting your energy. You ain't teaching me shit. I told everybody about that young man before he ever played it down. I don't care if you're a fan of the team. I don't care if you're a homer. I called this shit months. True story. There I was. What do you think about Devontae Ross as the Detroit receiver to Penn State? I think he's a wide receiver, and this is a running back episode. Do not ask me wide receiver questions on a running back episode. You're wasting your time, energy, and effort. I will not put that in this video because it doesn't go with the organization. Somebody else is going to wonder what I thought of Devontae Ross months from now, and they're going to need to know where I said it, and it's not going to be in this episode. It's going to be in a wide receiver episode when his name is on the chart and in front of you with the graphic. So you're wasting your energy asking me that question. We saw TCU struggle trying to find a running back. Who's a realistic target for them to go after? So they already went after him, Kairos, and I'm not gonna talk about it, but they already went after him. They got Kevorian Barnes, and Kevorian Barnes 2 years ago was one of the best group of 5 running backs in America. He just got relegated to the bench by Robert Henry at UTSA. But trust me, Kevorian Barnes is a good running back. I don't think that their running back room isn't under duress like people think. It was this year. They had to move wide receiver to the running back room, but Kevorian Barnes is pretty damn good, man. He really is. So hopefully he's true to form and he gets back under Jimmy and he gets a good running backs coach and he figures it out. Excuse me. I'm cool with it. What do you think of Bryce Underwood? Do you think he'd be really good or is he overrated? I don't think of Bryce Underwood at all. I don't know what to tell you. That Bryce Underwood is on every website in the world. I don't need to think about him. Other people already do that for you. Is he overrated? I don't rate him anywhere. How could he be overrated? You're talking about rated by other people. I don't even put credence to those ratings. Those ratings don't even matter to me. I just got through telling you that. I don't care what stars people have or what ratings they are. I go and assess tape, and then I rack and stack you amongst your peers. I don't give a shit. I just watched the film yesterday, and I told the young man, I think your ceiling is Division II. And he's like, with all due respect, I think I'm an FCS athlete. I'm like, okay, man. Well, Go get it. Not an offer in the world from the FCS. And so when I assess people, I'm like, hey, that guy's a 3-star. You gave him 5 stars? I'm like, okay. He's not overrated by me. I rate him right where he's at. I don't know what you want me to do. He's also not a running back. So you're asking me a question about a quarterback that doesn't belong in this episode. Hey, Rico, what do you think about Jamar's Taylor transfer from NC Central to Virginia? So I saw that. I think I wrote it down, but I have not assessed his tape, so I owe you an answer. Probably going to make it in episode 2 or 3. But I congratulations. Anytime somebody makes it out the gutter, makes it out, HBCU to Power 4, it's a pretty big deal. We'll see what happens. How do you feel Colorado went 9-4 this season, little boy? A little bucket. I predicted it. Pretty sure we bet on it. We took the over. We won a ton of money. I think I won $1,000 on the over. Maybe you might want to be an MVP someday, bro. Little boy. A little bucket. You might want to be an MVP someday. Maybe make some money. Where do you watch your film at for NFL prospects? Right here on my screen? The hell you mean? Everybody is under this crazy assumption like you need all 22 film to assess players. And that's just such a bullshit mindset. All you need to do to assess players is have metrics that you value and then look for those within a player. That's it. It doesn't matter what you heard or what you're talking about. You just watch the video. And if that guy looks like a Sunday guy, write it down. When you're evaluating players for the NFL draft, are you evaluating the players against one another, or are you evaluating the players against NFL players? That's my question. Because I'm evaluating them against NFL players. So I just have to look at you. I don't give a shit if you're better than another player in the draft. People who ask me, Rico, who's your number 1 quarterback? That doesn't matter. How many quarterbacks are going to end up on final 53s in the NFL? How many quarterbacks are better than quarterbacks currently in the NFL? That's what matters. That's why you guys always wonder, like, the number 1 corner in the draft is going to drop to the 3rd round. Number one running back going to be in the 3rd round. Why? Because he's probably not better than people on other rosters or teams. You guys got to know who's picking what, man. Who's picking and do they need anything? Wasn't trying to argue or nothing. Just watched Jacoby in the bowl game. Looked amazing. Appreciate your content. Much love to you. Oh, no. I didn't think you were arguing. Not at all. You're just telling me that this guy's going to start, and I don't. It's not news to me. That's all. Looking forward to the video, my man. Shout out to you, Caleb Tinsley. Yep. Should Kentucky move on from Stoops? To who? Sure, they should move on. Are they willing to commit more money to the football team? Because who your coach is doesn't really matter if you're not willing to commit more revenue towards your football team, right? That's the reality of the situation. Are we going to spend more money on players or not? Who your coach is pretty irrelevant. Just let's be real. Coach, you can be a great coach. You ain't going to bridge the gap of talent. You need talent, and a lot of it. Have you made a video about every top quarterback and tight end recruit? No, I would never make such a video. I've never done that in my life. That doesn't even intrigue me in the slightest. I don't understand what you're saying. I really don't. I've never made a video about recruits. I don't even know what the fuck that is. All right, running backs. We're going to talk about these two real quick. So, Roman Hemby is leaving Maryland going to Indiana. And the reason I wanted to bring it up is because this is a young man where it's a prime example. Indiana has an agenda when they hit the transfer portal. Indiana is after production. They're finding players who get it done on Saturdays. They do not care about potential. They do not. They're not trying to find high ceiling guys. He has a fast 40 and this. No, they're looking for people who actually do this shit on Saturdays. That's what they did in the transfer portal last year when they found all their players. And here, when they had a chance to go after certain running backs they just went straight to Maryland and said, yo, that guy's been at Maryland lifting weights for 4 years or 5 years. Let's get him over here. So he's in his final year of eligibility, rushed for about 500 or 600 yards, and he's going to go join the backfield. And Indiana is a prime place where you want to go. All these other running backs are after money. They're not after winning. All these other dudes who went and joined that I talked about earlier, they're after money. This guy's after getting on the right stage, showing his skill set, being in a winning pedigree. Those other guys are all bullshitting, bro. This is a real move right here. because Hemby's already a known figure in the running back world. He's 6'2", 208. They say he's 6 foot. He's 6'2". 6'2", 208, and he's a problem. And they already have Kalen Black, who was the leading rusher at JMU last year, 2 years ago, right? Before they moved over. So I need you guys to remember this. Kewan Black and Lawton. They were the two running backs at JMU. Black was the leading rusher. Lawton was the second leading rusher. When they moved over, obviously Justice Ellison took over the running back room. He's dynamic. He's amazing. Shout out to Justice Ellison. So he comes over, becomes a star running back. And then Black ends up losing his starting or backup position to Lawton. But now you got Lawton and Ellison gone. So now we have Black, Hemby, and they brought in BB, and I'll talk about BB here in a second. I think I have BB coming up, the running back from UAB. Looks good, looks fast. I think Indiana's running back room is loaded. I think it's still very good. There's players everywhere that look to be the part. This next guy, Malachi Hosley. Malachi Hosley, he's coming from Penn to Georgia Tech. This is a young man who, for me, made the right decision. When he was coming out of high school, he didn't get any looks locally. Like, nobody was really giving him any looks. And he's a Georgia kid. And I go, well, shit, he's going to Penn. Goes to Penn, and he plays well. When I watch him on tape, I think he's got good speed. I think he's better than Jamal Haynes. And Jamal Haynes started running back at Georgia Tech. But Jamal Haynes, for me, is a slot receiver who got moved to running back and is kind of explosive and everything, but he's not like Malachi Hosley. Malachi Hosley's smooth, bro. I wrote down silky smooth. That's what I wrote, silky smooth. Now, granted, he's playing at Penn against lesser players and all this stuff, but for me, in my point of view, I think Malachi Hosley is nice. I do. And what's crazy about Georgia Tech is, for as big as they are, and as good as the state of Georgia is at running back, Georgia Tech didn't have a lot of great running backs. Remember when Chad Alexander started getting playing time? I think it was week 1 or week 2. They were playing Florida State week 2. And I was live streaming the game with the MVPs. And Chad Alexander gets a carry. And I go, who? I freak out. I'm like, who's that guy? Why did he just get a carry? And it was because, why don't I know him? And it was because, well, he's a former walk-on. And I went, okay. So when a former walk-on is too deep, right? He's in your too deep, former walk-on. That's a cool story. It's not good for a Power 4 school. You should have 4 or 5 guys ahead of a walk-on. Same thing I told Colorado when they had, who was that, Charlie O kid, and they said he's the number 1 running back. I said, well, then you have the worst running back room in the Big 12 if that's your number 1 running back. There's no way you're as good as the other teams. The other teams, if we had tryouts tomorrow, none of your guys are better than the other guys. I don't care about production. I'm not talking about stats. I'm talking about talent. So Georgia Tech has a talent issue in their running back room. If walk-ons can come in and take spots. Seriously. It should not be happening. So seeing them miss on a kid from Northside High School in Columbus, Georgia, and he goes to Penn for a year. Now, he was the 4th leading rusher at Penn this last year. 4th leading rusher, not at Penn, in the FCS. Dude played 10 games, went over 1,000 yards. Like 7 100-yard games. That's a problem right there. Malachi Hosley is nice. And when I turn on the tape, remember, I don't watch FCS football. I turned on the tape. I went, whoa, this kid's good. I like this kid a lot. I like him better than Jamal Haynes. So we'll see what happens. I hope he gets in the rotation. Obviously, you're coming into a team where the running back's been starting there for 2 years. You're having to learn the new offense, all this stuff. But if you were at Penn, you're a pretty smart kid. You're going to Georgia Tech. Academically, you're on point. I like this right here. I will say this. This is a continued trend where Georgia Tech is signing low-budget transfers. And they're trying to get it done with these low-budget transfers, which I'm cool with, because Eric Rivers is a dog. Dean Patterson is a dog. Hosley. That's 3 Georgia Tech guys that are kind of like, they're bargain shopping, if you will. Arizona's doing the same thing. Certain schools don't have the same amount of money, so I'm not mad at them. I'm just saying it's happening, okay? Now, let's go back to committed position. We'll go back to running back. Excuse me. Those are the 2 guys I had to talk about. Now, I stopped at Dante Dowdell. Let's go to Cameron Seldon here. Cameron Seldon leaving Tennessee, going to Virginia Tech. One thing I'll say about Virginia Tech is they have really surprised me with the amount of players they've signed. The amount of players they've signed is crazy. Running backs, they've signed so many. But Cameron Seldon is a Virginia kid. He's huge, 6'2", 222. And he was the number one player coming out of high school in Virginia back in 2023. So playing as a true freshman, wasted his eligibility as a true freshman and a sophomore. Just refuses to redshirt. Keeps wasting. I don't understand these kids, man. I would want to save my eligibility. I would want to get bigger, faster, stronger. But they all want to play. All right, bro, you're going to play. You're going to get 25 carries on the year, 100 yards, and now you're out of it. So he's only got 2 years of eligibility left. Is he any good? Yeah, I think he's good. Is he going to start for Virginia Tech? He's the number one guy, supposedly. I don't think he's better than Terion Stewart. Let me tell you that. Let me tell you that right now. There's these small school guys that are beasts, and then there's this guy Seldon who just been sitting on the bench at Tennessee. I know all these teams recruit these guys like this who didn't work out at the Power 4 schools. It's easier to recruit a guy from Tennessee, I know. But, man, there's some other dudes out there with real production that I believe in. So, shout out to Cameron Seldon, though. Good luck at Virginia Tech. He does kick off return kicks as well. So, being 6'2", 222, that's too big to be returning kicks, if you ask me. AJ Turner, MVPs know what's up. AJ Turner, we're a fan. AJ Turner, I think my camera's too high, excuse me. AJ Turner from Marshall going to Minnesota. When this happened, I told you guys, I think Minnesota signed too many running backs. And sure enough, Cole Cabana bounced and left, and he's going to Western Michigan. But AJ Turner's not going to leave. Now, I'm going to try not to get too excited about AJ Turner going to Minnesota. Minnesota obviously has a starting running back. Minnesota needs depth at running back and all this, but AJ Turner for me is just such an underused guy. I hope Minnesota gets back to smash mouth football and stop trying to get pretty. They just had 2 star receivers graduate. They're gone. Quarterback gone. And I'm hoping they get back to handing the ball off and they rely on their running backs so we can have multiple running backs. But AJ Turner is a beast. Averaged almost 8 yards a carry, or over 8 yards a carry, I think, on 100 carries this season. He's the real deal. We love AJ Turner. Okay, shout out to him. Didn't get enough carries, if you ask me. Not enough burn. Elijah Tolliver, leaving Sac State, going to Michigan State. First thing I want to say is when you get a new job. I don't know. Let me rephrase this. When you move, how do I do this? No, I'm just going to say it. When you get a new job as a college coach, you have to reinvent yourself at your new job, especially if it's a different location. So what I'm saying is the Michigan State coaches all come from Oregon State, right? The vast majority of them come from Oregon State. So these coaches, their pipeline, if you will, is the West Coast. They're all these honorable mention guys, or not honorable, these big sky guys. They're all West Coast guys. You're at Michigan State. You need to learn how to recruit in Michigan. Recruit the Northeast. The Midwest. Like, there's no reason Cole Cabana shouldn't be trying to come to your school unless you didn't recruit him properly. Cole Cabana leaving Michigan. He's a Michigan guy from Ann Arbor. Why is he not going to Michigan State? You think he just hates you? You didn't recruit him because Keith Bonappa, the running backs coach for Michigan State, doesn't know how to recruit anywhere but the West Coast. So you're going to keep seeing Michigan State go and sign these kids from the West Coast. I don't think that translates well. I don't think that's how you win. You got to reinvent your region, man. I want to give a big shout out to Alonzo Carter, Coach Carter, running backs coach at Arizona. He's the only one that I've seen adjust on the whole Arizona coaching staff. If you don't know, Arizona is struggling right now, and it's because I blame the coaching. And it's because they got a head coach from San Jose who showed up to Arizona and is evaluating talent and coaching talent and treating it like it's San Jose. And you don't do that. So then I talked to Coach Carter. He said, no, I'm going all the way to Houston and Dallas to get my running backs. We're going to that's my area, Houston and Dallas. Not Tucson, not San Jose or Oakland. I'm going to Dallas and Houston because you just have to find a new region. This is the death of Scott Frost. When Scott Frost led UCF to an undefeated season, he went and got hired in Nebraska. And he tried to do the same thing. I'm going to get these Florida kids who went to UCF and helped me go undefeated. I'm going to get these Florida kids to go to Nebraska. And nobody went to Nebraska. Nobody. And I talked about this for months. Nebraska's recruiting class for the next 2 years with Scott Frost had one player from Texas. You're in Nebraska. You're in the middle of the fucking country. And you're not leveraging the Texas pipeline at all. The one player was a kid named, was it Ricky? It's a quarterback. He's now the backup at UIW. You didn't even get, it was Ricky Torres. You didn't even utilize your pipelines or do anything. So Matt Rule has now got hired Texas high school coaches, position coaches. Matt Rule has done everything he can to build these pipelines to Texas. And Scott Frost eventually got fired. I'm looking at Michigan State, and cool, man, you got a running back. Do you know where Nate Carter and Lynch Adams came from? Like, K'Ron Lynch Adams, UMass, Nate Carter, UConn. That's where they came from. And those guys committed to the school before you got there. They were interested before you guys got there. And then all you bring is this shit. I don't like it. By the way, they wanted Cameron Davis. I know they wanted Cameron Davis. The Washington kid, 5 years. But he went to Minnesota instead. So, Tolliver going over to Michigan State, congratulations. You need him. You just got to recruit differently. I don't like it. Durell Robinson, speaking of don't like it. Durell Robinson, St. Francis kid, went with Biff Poggi out of high school, went to Charlotte, a whole running back room full of people. Eventually transfers out of Charlotte, quit on the team, transfers up to UConn, becomes the best running back at UConn. He was fighting for playing time up at UConn, just so we're clear. He becomes the running back there, hits the transfer portal again. Now he's going to Auburn. I understand Auburn homers are excited about this move because they have to pretend to be excited about a move. Like, if you listen to Durell Robinson and his reason for going to Auburn, it's the dumbest shit you've ever heard in your life. It's because Derek Nix, the running backs coach, is also the offensive coordinator. And Derek Nix is the same size as me, and he knows how to play like me. I've never heard of such a thing in my fucking life. He's the same size as me, and he knows how to play like me. This is a man who was a wide receivers coach at Ole Miss, moved over, became an associate head coach. Like, I know these. I studied this shit, man. I talk about small school guys transferring in, and everybody's under the assumption they're supposed to be great. Like, do you guys remember? I talked about this in another video. You guys remember Brian Battee transferring in? Brian Battee got zero run. Oh, Rico, he got shot in the head. No shit. I'm talking about 2023. You transfer into Auburn. You were just splitting time at UConn. You were just splitting time at Charlotte. You're not even a 1,000-yard rusher. You're not even, like, dominant. You're not taking lunch money. And now you go to Auburn? Well, they just lost Hunter, Rico. You don't understand. You know, I understand. I know the whole fucking team better than you, bro. I know the whole team better than you. I think it's dumb. Good luck. Kewan, Lacy, leaving Missouri, going to Ole Miss. This is just a star player that wants to be coddled, and you would talk about fucking tampering like a mother flipper. This had to be one of the worst tampering jobs in the world. Kewan Lacy leaving Missouri after, theoretically, you'd think he'd be the starter, right? Both guys that were starting are gone now. You don't want to be there? No, you want another payday. All right, go to Ole Miss, get another payday. Whatever. They're going to finally use you? What makes you different? Timing? Go for it, bro. They got a bunch of roster spots. They got a lot of stuff open. Amos hit the portal. Obviously, Ulysses Bennett and Henry Parrish are out of eligibility. So your chance to see the field is real, but it is what it is. Terion Stewart, love the guy, man. As long as he's healthy, he's a beast. USC wanted Terion Stewart, and he passed on USC to go to Virginia Tech. I like that move. It's pretty sweet stuff, if you ask me personally. I think that's pretty cool. I think he's amazing. I think the fact that Virginia Tech is still signing other running backs bothers me, because we always want Terion Stewart to get the ball. He's explosive. He's a short little guy, short, stubby dude, 5'9", 220. He's 5'9" on a good day. So that's his dating profile. But he's the real deal. To see him ranked below these other players, it's funny the way they do their rankings. Like, these guys have none of these guys have done a fifth of what Terion Stewart's done in his life. It's crazy the way they rank these things. It's just silly. Terion Stewart's the man. Virginia Tech does have 4 running backs in the transfer portal, something crazy. So we'll see what happens. But shout out to Terion Stewart. I love him a lot. Love's a strong word. First team all MAC, though. First team all conference. It's not often first team all conference guys transfer. So, Cole Cabana. This is one of those guys that's telling everybody he's going to a Power 4 school and can't just come to the realization he doesn't belong there. He can't play there. He shouldn't have been at Michigan. 2 years in Michigan, 2 carries. 2 carries, 4 yards, something like that. I think he's got 2 more carries than me in my college career. Cole Cabana. This is a guy who rushed for over 4,000 yards in high school. He's from the Ann Arbor area, so he's a local kid and all that. Go to Western Michigan, man. Go get some playing time. They just lost Jaden Nixon, who's not a real running back. You got a chance to go out there and do some shit with Buckley. Go do it, Cole. Get healthy. Go play. He was injured this year. Eli Sanders, final year of eligibility, going back home. Eli Sanders is a California kid. It's crazy. Where's he from? Oceanside? I think he's from Oceanside. But he started his career at Iowa State. Was there for a couple years. Then he went to New Mexico. Played really well. He's speed demon, bro. He's speed. He actually looks smaller than 5'11", 195. Like, when you see him on the field, he looks smaller. But he's a speed demon. He's fast. And it's one of those things where USC needs playmakers. And this is a guy that fills that spot. What's crazy is he got an offer from Arkansas, who had to settle for Mike Washington. He got an offer from Michigan State, because once again, Michigan State only recruits West Coast running backs because they don't know how to recruit their area, their region. They're just fucking dinosaurs, and they're not doing what they need to do. And he got an offer from Arizona, and he decided to pass on all those and go to USC. Congratulations to him. Cameron Davis going to Minnesota. Probably going to be in the rotation. He's a more senior guy. He's usually going for about 500 yards when he is healthy. Just going to be one of those guys that gives Darius Taylor a break, and he knows that. He's coming to be a role player at Minnesota. Shout out to Cameron Davis. He's a very mature player, physically developed player. Good for him. NaQuari Rogers. This move is boo-boo to fool. NaQuari Rogers is a very explosive player. Good. He looks good on tape. I like him. He's just, what is he doing going to Utah? Utah needs depth at running back room? Okay. Going with your offensive coordinator, following Beck. Cool. You weren't the starting running back at New Mexico. You're never going to be the starting running back at Utah. This is just a guy who's content with being on the team. He just wants a jersey. He's fucking crazy. Like, that's a good player that could play at other levels, and instead he's just saying, nah, I don't want to do it. I'm out of here. I suck. I don't want to start anywhere. That's not a competitor right there. That's just a dude who just wants to be on a team. Seriously. That's not the type of dude I like around me. I wouldn't want him, personally. Christian Washington. Love Christian Washington. You know, MVP should know this. I was big on Christian Washington. I believe he got the starting job at one of these games this week during the season. He was the starter for Coastal Carolina after injuries. And I said, oh, guys, don't worry. They got a new starting running back. It's Christian Washington. By the way, he's the bee's knees. Let's bet on his over yards. He's going to go do this. And he went and rushed for like 100 yards, and he played great. I knew that because I watched tape on him. This is a California kid. I believe he's from Helix. So he played at Helix High School, Reggie Bush's high school, old high school. Christian Washington started his career at New Mexico. What a coincidence. They keep all these New Mexico guys kind of ranked the same, just so you know. Started his career in New Mexico, eventually transferred to, he was there for 2 years. Second year, he didn't play, redshirted. Smart move. Went to Coastal Carolina, played a little bit, now he's coming back. Doesn't come across, and I'm going to say this, with a grain of salt, doesn't come across as the most intellectual guy, but he wants to go to San Diego and put it on for the city. So let's go see it, man. Go do your thing. Coming out of high school, did not have an offer from San Diego, despite leading Helix to 2 different state titles, the Open Division 2019, 2021. And he rushed for like 2,200 yards in the CIF, San Diego section. 31 touchdowns, 2,200 yards. You're not going to offer me, bro? That's crazy. San Diego State, do better. Don't know how to offer players, letting them slip, and now he's back. So now he's going to be playing over there for Sean Lewis and the boys. See what he can do. They just lost Krishan in the transfer portal. They need running backs. He's better than the other 2. He's better than the other 2 guys on the roster right now. They got a freshman, 5 carries, 25 yards or something like that. Like, he's better than everybody. So I expect Christian Washington to get some play. You know, it's funny. I laugh because Marquez Cooper was the starting running back for San Diego State this year. Shout out to Quez Coop, and he's like a joystick, right? The Kent State transfer, Ball State transfer. What's really crazy is not a single player at San Diego State rushed for over 100 yards, except for Quez Cooper. Quez Cooper rushed for over 1,000 yards. There's not another player on the roster over 100 yards rushing total on the whole season. He took all the carries. So they got to now split those carries amongst players. And I think Christian Washington just wants 200 carries, man. He wants that production. And I'm excited for him. So we'll see what happens there. And then Rashad Amos. You guys know I'm not a fan of Rashad Amos. I think he has fumble problems. This is a young man that started his career at South Carolina, went to Miami of Ohio, rushed for 1,200 yards or so, jumped in the portal, and I famously told him, do not go to Ole Miss. I famously told him all over Twitter, talked to him. He talked to me. He told me he don't have fumble problems. I told him, yes, he does. I've watched him fumble at South Carolina. Then he says, I only fumble in the rain, all this other shit. I said, it doesn't matter. You're not going to fumble at Ole Miss because you'll never see the field. Here's the problem. I talked to an NIL director, and he said, Rico, when we tried to reach out to Rashad Amos, his agent said, we start at $85,000. You need $85,000 to talk to me, or else we're not going to talk. So if you're willing to sit on the bench for $85,000 and never play football again, then you and I have different priorities. More power to you. So if he did that, that's on him. But he ruined his whole career. He didn't play at all for Ole Miss. Wasn't good enough to see the field. I told him he can't play at the SEC level. So what's he doing transferring back to the SEC? If you couldn't play over Judah McDowell, the fuck you think you're going to play over everybody else at Ole Miss? It's not happening. So now he's going to Memphis. And I'm torn because I love Memphis. You guys know this. I'm a big Memphis guy. And I think he's going to be good at Memphis. Memphis running back room is loaded. I think he's good. So congratulations on being realistic about your transfer, but I don't like you. Don't fumble, bro. Hope you've been working hard, lifting weights for the last year or whatever. Shout out to Kanye Udoh. I'm going to get back to the chat here in a second. I just want to finish up the list. I think the last guy I'm going to talk about is Caleb Hicks tonight. So Kanye Udoh, leaving Army, going to Arizona State. I told you guys before the season, Kanye Udoh will be on an FBS team, and he is. He'll be on a Power 4 team, I think is what I said, and he is. Do I think he belongs at Arizona State? I hope so. I love the way this young man works. I like the way he carries himself. Arizona State has a certain pedigree right now where they're known for being physical. I'm going to tell you guys, they have Raleek Brown, who I think is special. I hope they get the ball to some of these players that they have on that team. Their running back room is loaded. Kanye Udoh coming in. I don't necessarily know if he's the best running back in the room, but I admire the young man for having the heart and the desire to go play for a winner, and can't fault him for the move. Rashad Dubinion coming back home, closer to home. He's from Georgia. His running backs coach left him high and dry. So now he finally leaves Arkansas, goes to App State. Hopefully that works out for him. I don't really have much to say about him. He's undersized, and he doesn't quite get there. Next 2 guys quit on their teams. Leshon Williams, been at Iowa for a while, was their leading rusher last year. Then he lost his starting position this year, and he just quit on the team in November. Just decided, I'm going to go jump at the portal. I'm out of here. I don't like guys like that. So congratulations to Kansas. You got yourself a guy. Is he a good football player? Sure. Has he led a team in rushing? Yep. Don't like him. Don't like him. Dan Mullen, if you ever want to be better, what you need to do is stop recruiting the players you recruited when you were at Florida. And I don't mean that in a bad way because some of the players were good, but Jalen Glover was not one of them. So Jalen Glover, if you guys don't know his history, he is a former Mr. Football out of Florida. He rushed for like 7 touchdowns in a playoff game in Florida. He was Mr. 6A football, blah, 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 state champ, all this stuff. All right, cool. Got recruited to go to Florida by Dan Mullen. Didn't work out, transfers to Utah. And what does he do at Utah? Well, he quits on the team. He literally quit on the team this year, jumped in the transfer portal. Just stop showing up. Utah's losing games, he quits. These are the guys you want? Okay, UNLV, you link back up and you go get Jalen Glover. Congrats. I don't like the move. Is he better than the other running backs at UNLV? Who knows? Ishmael Mahdi, friend of the channel, used to advise this young man in the portal. I'm so glad that he chose a running backs coach that he enjoys, that he likes. I hope they use him properly. He's a speed demon, former 1,300-yard rusher, great running back. Started off in the FCS and found his way to being an all-conference running back and an all-American first and second team. Really like Ishmael Mahdi. Hope he does great things for Arizona. Arizona is a budget-oriented team. They're not doing well in the transfer portal. They're not doing well in their coaching decisions. They look like San Jose State caliber players and coaches. It sucks. It bothers me. And then Caleb Hicks will be the last guy I talk about. Then I'll go to the chat and we'll wrap this up. Caleb Hicks transferred from Oklahoma to Oklahoma State. So I went back and watched his huddle tape because I never watched him play at Oklahoma. Caleb Hicks is not a player that I would be excited about. They tell me he's competing for the starting running back job with Trent Hallen. Trent Hallen is a transfer from Indiana. Trent Hallen is a grown man compared to these other guys. I would take Trent Hallen every day of the week and twice on Saturday over Caleb Hicks. So shout out to Caleb Hicks for transferring to Oklahoma State. I believe he'll be a backup. You're at Oklahoma. They lost a ton of running backs to the transfer portal last year. You still never got any burn. I do not think Caleb Hicks has any business transferring to these Power 4 schools. He is just a depth piece everywhere he goes, and he will never, ever play football at the Power 4 level. I'm serious. He won't. Injuries are going to have to occur like crazy, and if they do, he won't be productive at the Power 4 level. He just won't. He sucks. He doesn't suck. He's just not. He should be at Tulsa. He should be at Tulsa. So that's where I'm at on that. Or North Texas. Thank you guys for being here. Let's go to the chat one last time, and then we'll call it a night. I am under the weather. I am sick. So sorry for my posture and everything. I'm trying my best to stay here. So let's go. Interact. And we'll scroll back up. Hey, Rico. Got that. Got that. Looking forward. Have you made a video? No. Kanye Udoh going to be a beast at Arizona State next year. Okay. I'm excited for it. In front of the channel, I like him. He follows me on every platform. I follow him. Kanye Udoh, I sent him DMs. We talked. I'm pulling for him at all times. Rico, ECU fan here. Tell me about Jenkins running back. Hey, Houston transfer. Should I be excited? So Weston Myers, I actually took a screenshot of it earlier today because you should be excited. You should be excited because he was the starting running back at Houston. And in week 4, he finally got moved and was no longer the starting running back. And they moved Snead ahead of him and then 2 freshmen ahead of him. But I've liked Jenkins ever since he filled in for Alton McCaskill IV after he was injured, so 2 years ago. I'm a big Parker Jenkins guy. I think he's good. I think he's good. Did I just say Parker Jenkins? Parker Jones? Is that the Georgia kid? Yeah, so I like the guy, man. I think you guys should be excited about him. Is he going to be the starter? Is he going to have to share time? I don't know, but I like him. So I think it's a good move for ECU to get a running back of this caliber for sure. So I like him. There you go. What running back room disappointed the most this year? Oh, my goodness. I mean, it's no fault of their own. It's got to be Arizona. I had Arizona being amazing. Arizona and Missouri both disappointed me immensely. I just thought so highly of them going into the season, and it didn't quite get there. Even though Conley played well, just didn't get it done. Didn't win games. And Missouri, same thing. I expected so much more from Marcus Carroll and Nate Noel, and it wasn't quite there. So those two disappointed me. I'm sure there's others, but that's a knee-jerk reaction. Those are the ones I come up with. Appreciate that question, though, Jalen. Appreciate the stream. Shout out to you, Divine Obsidian. I am really sick and kind of beat. Not sure Ahmed Hardy will be running back number 1 immediately. Jamal Roberts looks solid this season. Yep, and knows the offense. I agree with you on Marquise Davis, likely running back number 3 at a medium by the end of the season. At a minimum. Yeah, so I think he's running back 1 by the end of the season. I think I see guys, and I just make the call, bro. I just make the call. Thank you guys for believing in me. Thank you guys for supporting the channel. Shout out to all the MVPs who stick with us through the offseason. You know, we're all going to be betting on UFC all season long, and I'll be doing the transfer portal. The next episode will be wide receivers when I get around to it. Sorry for being so under the weather. I know you're only talking about committed running backs, but do you think Rashad Faison is a power 4 back? Yes, Utah State, Rashad Faison is a power 4 running back. It all depends on how many slots they have available, who's going to make room for him and stuff like that. But that kid can play anywhere. I think he's elite. I've thought very highly of him for many years now. I remember I made a video on him, not this year, but the year before, when he was third string. When he was the third string running back at Utah State, I made a video on him, and I believe it was a next up video. So if you're checking the TikTok playlist, it was next up, Rashad Faison, third string running back, behind Booth, behind some other guys on the depth chart. I didn't care. I saw it, and I said, yo, that guy's special. And I have those moments in my life, guys, where I see something, and I go, oh, that's the guy. So, and I stick with it. What do you think of Florida's running back room for 2025? I hope it's pretty good. Well, I won't make those assessments, Michael Alexander, until June after spring football. I have to look at how they do in spring, who they retain, who they lose, injuries. I make all my projections in June. I don't make those projections now. So, asking me about 2025 is pointless. I don't have an answer for you. All right, thanks for being here, guys. I appreciate you guys. Y'all have a blessed night. Remember, your friends don't know, but Rico knows. Peace, y'all.